Love is my choice. Love is my decision. I wish you peace. I wish you joy. I wish you love, 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 love. I wish you faith in yourself to reveal all that you've come here to be. Love is my choice. Love is my decision. Love is my voice. Love is my religion. Sing it.
Good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? Oh, let's try that again. How are you this morning? There we are. There we are. There are actually several of us who are just arriving from our meditation retreat, so we're pretty blissed out. We're like, woo, man, woo. No, I'm teasing. We had a practitioner retreat on Friday, and then we had our meditation retreat the rest of the weekend. It was really quite beautiful. Before I begin our welcome and all of the goodies that we do here at the opening piece of this service, I want to take a moment and I want to honor our out-of-town practitioners who are here. Annette Nelson and Lori Nazarino, would you please stand? And our practitioner student, Melissa, stand, yes. And Cindy Gomez, who is also a practitioner student from Colorado. We are so blessed. What a gift to have you here. What a gift. I have had the treat of being with them this weekend. So what a blessing. What a blessing. Speaking of blessings, this is the time in our service where we acknowledge that we are on the land of the Kalapuya people. And we absolutely acknowledge and claim their indigenous heritage, experiences, and sovereignty. And now, for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, if you're new or newish, those of you online, if you're joining us for the first time, know that we welcome everybody here. I'm talking everyone, all faith paths, all genders, everyone is welcome here. And not only are you welcome here, but we have mindfully and we have thoughtfully created a place just for you, exactly as you are, this day. So much grace in this place. I am so grateful. I am so thankful. We have some flowers. Here they are. It's like this, right here. And these flowers are from our meditation retreat, and they have been loved up by the retreatants. And so we bring that love to you all in this room. So grateful. Rev Masando is going to bless us with his talk this morning. So thankful for that. And before we do that, I want to just give us an opportunity to have our opening blessing. So nice deep breath in. How good it is to be here in community. How good it is to be with each other. How good it is to feel that the air we breathe is love itself. That is how loving this universe is. That is what we have come here to be, is manifestations of this love. And so I bless this time and this sacred place. I'm so grateful for Reverend Masando, knowing that this love speaks through him with clarity and ease this morning. I'm so thankful for the many hands that make this service possible every Sunday. I'm so thankful for the music. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be together, to grow together, and to experience this love together. And so blessing it all with a deep breath, I say, and so it is. Blessed be. And now I'm going to invite Lori Jones forward for our spiritual practice. Lori Jones.
Good morning. Now is our time for spiritual practice. I invite you to take a breath and allow yourself to feel the energy of this room, of this community, to feel the music wash through you, wash over you. And you can sing along, whatever it takes to bring you into this place here and now.
We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let
And so it is.
Good morning. Today's sacred reading is from best-selling author, blogger, and co-founder of the Evolving Faith community, Sarah Bessey. Almighty One, I used to think I had to approach you with formal language or unknown tongues or recited acronyms. Bless it. Now it's nice to simply be together, isn't it? God of our rapid tests and nose swabs. God in our bewilderment and grief. God in our wordless prayers and our persistent fears. God in our exhaustion and anger. It's good to know you're here. Your presence these days feels like a vast patience, a deep power, poetry, and prairie sunsets. God of our laughter and science, God in our joy and comfort, God in our patience and in our kindness, God in our rising up and renewal. It's just good to know you're here. I'll bring everything I am to you. None of it is a surprise, I know. I don't need to pretend to be less angry, disappointed, scared, sad, joyful, hopeful, awake, alive. Emmanuel, God is with us. It's your very with us-ness that gives us permission to pray as fully human, fully beloved, fully known. You're here and always, now, forever. It's just good to remember this again. It's just good to know that you're here, always in conversations that never really begin or end, winding their way through every aspect of our lives and your love. God in our cluttered homes and holy hospitals. God in the sacred places we've forgotten. God in the ordinary cathedral of the spruces. God in the gray sky and the grocery list. It's just good to know you're here with us, still, always. Amen.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. I would now like to welcome back Lori Jones. So happy to have you back with us.
Been weighed down by thoughts and words and circumstance. It's time to ask my soul to dance. Let go of all those heavy things. Take a breath and stretch these wings. Fly, oh fly. The freshest air lifting me feels so alive. They fall right into place. No more pushing, no more chase. Be free. Free my spirit, do your thing. I'll step aside and let you sing. Fly, oh fly. The freshest air lifting me feels so alive. Fly, oh fly. Powered by the sun inside and on high. Oh, fly. When I doubt, when I'm afraid, I'll have to trust the path is made. Listen every day to hear that call. Oh, rise above my mind's walls. Ooh, oh, fly, fly. The freshest air lifting me, I feel so alive. Fly, oh, fly. Powered by the sun inside and on high. Oh, fly. I'll stretch these wings and fly. Powered by the sun inside. Oh, powered by the sun inside. Fly.
Lori Jones, Lori Jones. That is an original, that's a new one. I was talking to her earlier. Thank you so much. She's about to embark on this amazing adventure, and just so grateful that you're sharing that with us and that you still get to come back and be with us every once in a while. So thank you, Lori, so much. It's always amazing to have you here. And welcome back to everybody that's coming back from the retreat, the meditation retreat. I can feel you buzzing a little bit. The talk title for today is called Making Room. And when I think about meditation practice, God, meditation is so much about making room, like physically making room for more breath in our bodies, like mentally making room just for more spaciousness and acceptance, and spiritually making room for that insight and awareness to come through. Before I began meditating, I feel like I didn't even know how to breathe. Like I just wasn't doing it right. It was all up, and it was tight, and it was in my shoulders and chest. I didn't really know how to create this expansiveness that exists within until I started meditating. I feel like I was very disconnected from my breath in so many ways. And when I started sitting, when I started doing that, I began to make contact with this incredible spaciousness, like this vast space that exists within me. And when I could start breathing, how Reverend Shannon has taught us to breathe way deep down into our bellies, and we can just feel this vastness come through. I allowed my thoughts and my emotions to also become a part of that, right? I began to realize that once I started practicing this long enough, I could make room for all of the thoughts that arise in my crazy mind. I began to make contact with those, but instead of doing what I normally do, which is, try to run away or avoid or push away negative thoughts or emotions, which I quickly realized is nearly impossible to do anyways. Wherever your mind is at, it's going to follow you wherever you go. It's connected. But I could, instead of running away from my thoughts or trying to run away from my thoughts, I noticed that as I breathed more deeply, I could just create some space around them. I could breathe and began to witness my thoughts and make room for this spaciousness that exists within me without being overwhelmed by that which was arising. I could simply be witness to it all. And it's from this place I also know that I could then begin to engage in more powerful choice and intention in my life, because instead of doing this like rat race thing of trying to cling to positivity and run away from negativity, or sometimes like I know when we're in like a little bit more of perhaps more challenging times in our life, perhaps clinging to the negative emotions and feeling so far away from our positive ones, I know that can happen as well. There's this ability to just give space to it all. Or to arrive at a place of love and acceptance of everything that arises without being hooked by the things that may normally hook us, right? So ultimately, I think what meditation has taught me is this like practice of just self-compassion and love. And my favorite all-time go-to book that I go to over and over and over again when it comes to meditation is The Wisdom of No Escape by Pema Chodron. If you all want to learn about meditation practice, I highly recommend this book. And I had read so many other books about meditation, but this one opened up with a concept that I wasn't familiar with before this book, and it's this concept of Maitri, or loving kindness towards oneself. And that is the place from which all meditation begins. She says meditation is the place from which we take our seat when we began to meditate. And this is what she says about loving kindness. She says, loving kindness, or Maitri, towards ourselves doesn't mean getting rid of anything. Maitri means we can still be crazy after all these years. We can still be angry after all these years. We can still be timid or jealous or petty or full of feelings of unworthiness. The point is not to try to change ourselves. And thank God for that. Because even though the Buddhists don't believe in God, but thank God we can still be all sorts of complicated and interesting after all these years. You know, she goes on to say, meditation practice isn't about trying to throw ourselves away and become something better. It's about befriending who we are already. Yeah. What a concept, huh? So the point of this practice is literally just to make room for all the juiciness of our lives and realize that we may just likely have been over-identifying with the things that may be bringing us suffering, right? Meditation gives us this opportunity to come out of ourselves a little bit, right? Like to pop out of that ego spacesuit that we normally are residing in and just watch ourselves. But watch ourselves with Maitri, with kind eyes, with that loving kindness, instead of the normal ways we may look at ourselves, like with judgment and criticism, that thing we may go to, like just like that, right? And to realize that there actually is a lot of space within us, and that we can make room for it all. And this making room allows us to kind of pan out, right? So those things that may feel so big in our lives then begin just not to feel so big. You know, it's like taking this thing that we've been putting all of our focus on, right? Just kind of dialed into, and just breathing into it, so the space in which we're able to see through becomes bigger and bigger and more roomy and spacious, so that we can see beyond whatever has been taking all of our attention, around, under, and below. And so this thing that has been so big can get to be a little right-sized, and that we can begin to work with it a little bit more so that it can be healed and transformed. So I love this concept, like the spiritual path, we're not just like trying to throw ourselves in the garbage and become this new person, right? It's just about learning to love ourselves exactly as we are and know that everything that we're working with right here, like that is the ground for enlightenment. That is the ground for becoming fully at one with the divine, exactly who we are and where we are right now. Like, this is enough. This is enough. And it turns out, right, this spaciousness that exists, like, isn't just true, like, metaphorically as a nice thought. It's actually true, like, physically at the atomic and subatomic level, that is. This science reporter, Ali Sundermeyer, she wrote an article, I think it was like in Business Insider, so it was like a business context. She wrote this article, but she's a science reporter, so she talked about it this way. She says, your friends, your office, your really big car, or your hybrid car, or electric car if you're in Portland, you yourself, everything in this incredible, vast universe are almost 99.999999% empty space. Are you sitting down for this? Well, you're not really. Your butt isn't actually touching the chair you're sitting on. Since the meat of your atoms is nestled away in nuclei, when you touch someone or something, you aren't actually feeling their atoms. What you're feeling is the electromagnetic force of your electrons pushing away their electrons on a very technical level. You're not actually sitting on that chair. You're hovering ever so slightly above it. So apparently we've all already mastered levitation. Even if you didn't go to the meditation retreat, we're all levitating right now. In the sense, like, we don't even really need to make more spaciousness. That spaciousness already exists within. So, this practice of making room for ourselves, I've noticed that not only does this work for ourselves, but when we get in this practice of making more room for all of it, we also naturally develop this greater capacity to make room for others as well. And thank God for that. And I don't mean this social distancing kind of room, by the way. Social distance. If I never have to hear that phrase again, I will begin levitating out of joy. But as we begin to re-people, after 2 years of being in this pandemic, after so much time of having to isolate and distance, after all we have been through, I think we may have gotten into this habit of creating distance between us rather than making room. And ironically, right, as we do come back together, as we relearn and remember how to be in proximity with one another and share space, I believe one of the greatest tools that can serve us during this time, that can benefit all of us, is this making room for one another. So as Reverend Shannon said, we had our prayer practitioner retreat right before the longer meditation retreat on Friday, and we did some amazing rituals that feel so resonant with this subject matter. It was an incredibly powerful time. Know that our prayer practitioners, they are here to support the congregation, and so we knew we had to come together and regroup and really connect so that we can support this community in the way that I know we're being called to support. The practitioner really are the extended clergy of our church, and so we wanted to get together and create some ritual for this. And I noticed in our retreat, Rev S, there's this same theme of making room. And so I want to share about some of the rituals that we did together, because I think it's really illustrative of what I'm talking about here. Often in our tradition and in our ritual, we put a lot of focus solely on our intentions. And so we started our retreat, and Reverend Shannon asked us to just think of an intention that we're bringing to our time together, which always often is an extension, of course, for the rest of our lives as well. It's not just isolated to that time. And so we talked about that and set our intention, but then she did something interesting that hadn't done before. She also had us identify any blocks that get in the way of us experiencing those powerful intentions, these burdens or these stories about ourselves that can arise anytime we set a powerful intention in place. There's often things that are just get in the way of us fully experiencing that. But instead of just trying to pray those away, which we often do, or do a ritual that burns them or washes them away. Have people done those kinds of rituals as well? We're just trying to destroy these things. It feels like a constant battle. It's like Lord of the Rings style spiritual practice. It feels like sometimes I'm just coming out with my sword. But she had us do something different, right? She had us instead think about what those blocks were, and then to go out into nature and find something that represented those blocks those burdens, those things that get in the way, and have us, instead of the intentions that we normally place on the altar, have us place those burdens and blocks on the altar. And this is what she said. It was like everyone's mind was blown. You put these blocks on the altar so they can be altered. Yeah. And it was beautiful because, I think normally we try to push these things away or avoid them or burn them. And now this was a different approach of no, like even these things are worth honoring. They're so sacred. These aspects of ourselves that we normally would try to hide away or push away or avoid or try not to let any other practitioner know that it's actually going on with us. Instead of doing that, we put them on the altar. And what I noticed, and everyone was just like so excited about it, like people were taking pictures, because all we could see from all these things that felt really negative and heavy, all we could see on that altar was beauty. All we could see was this shared humanity. All we could see was the fact that, hey, like, I am not the only one that struggles with these things sometimes. And so it wasn't just our like beauty and divinity and all of these qualities that we normally identify with that are light and love that bring us together and make us feel at one with one another, but it was also all the things we struggle with, all the things that get in the way, all the things that we try to hide away. That too was something that helped us feel connection and love at that retreat. And so for me, that is what it means to make room, because as we made room for all of those things, we literally made room, we put a place in our room for those things. We realized that like everything in our life that we would normally resist or try to hide away, what came through for me is like, oh, it is all worthy of being held as sacred and as a part of the divine and as part of my experience of being human. Ukrainian-born poet Veronika Tugaleva, she puts it very succinctly. This is what she says: "Love your darkness, and you shall know your light." Love your darkness, and you shall know your light. It's almost like we're being called into a time, right? Because we can look out into the world, and we can see a lot of darkness. And we can take a look in ourselves, and maybe we see a little bit of darkness too. Perhaps the point isn't to try to destroy or fight our way through this time. Perhaps we're being called into a time where we're just being called to love. Love it. Love it so much that it reveals the light that is right there in the midst of what feels so dark, right? It's a call for love. It's a deeper call for love that I know we're being called into right now. And that led to this lively discussion that we had towards the end of our practitioner retreat about belonging versus fitting in. We ended our retreat this way, and realizing that, like, hey, in any culture, any community, any group of friends, any family we seek connection with, right? There can arise this culture of fitting in, of trying to like bend and shape ourselves to think or act or talk or dress in a certain way in order to feel like we belong to a group. But we realize when we try to shape ourselves in that way, or we are holding others to an expectation of acting a certain way, or saying certain right things, or just being a part of this culture that may be unstated even, we create a culture of fitting in. We don't allow people to be who they are. And so what came in our discussion is like, that's not what we want to do here at NTCSO. We want to create a culture of belonging rather than a culture of fitting in. Brene Brown, she talks about this beautifully. She says, fitting in is about assessing a situation and becoming who you need to be accepted. Belonging, on the other hand, doesn't require us to change who we are. It requires us to be who we are. Not rejecting or avoiding or denying aspects of ourselves, right? Like not trying to shape ourselves to fit into someone else's mold. If we want to create a culture of belonging, like we kind of have to have this audaciousness to be who we are, unapologetically. But we also at the same time have to celebrate and honor when others are doing the same thing. We talked about how this can happen in church, how like people can grow up with different church cultures, of like some of us have grown up in a culture where we're really just like passive and quiet, and we just are really taking things in, and that's like the culture that we've been brought up in. And there's other cultures at church where people are like interacting with the preacher all the time, and it's really loud and interactive, and there's lots of in between and all of that. And I've been in churches where there's been like conflict in this of like, can you tell that person just to stop like saying so many things during the talk? They're distracting me. Or like that person's like hat is too big, or this person's whatever, it's just not making me feel comfortable. And we realize that like in the place of fitting in, like, yeah, we're gonna ask everybody to act the same way when the preacher's giving the talk, and that's what we're gonna expect. But in a culture of belonging, we're gonna welcome it all, and we're gonna celebrate all the different ways that people experience that divine insight that comes when we're sitting in church together. We're going to celebrate all of the different ways that we can experience the divine right here, exactly where we are, and know that like no matter who comes through the doors, no matter how we are being together, that it's going to be celebrated, and we're going to call upon ourselves to celebrate who we are and how we are together as well, right? Dr. Ernest Holmes says, he says it this way. He says, unity and uniformity are not the same thing. No two blades of grass are alike. And what does this mean spiritually? It means that incarnated within each one of us is not only a divine spark, not only an incarnation of the living spirit of the cosmos, but a unique presentation of the cosmic whole. A unique presentation of the cosmic whole. Unity and uniformity are not the same thing. What he's saying is like, hey, listen, every single one of us is a divine expression. And we're not supposed to be the same. We're supposed to be this amazing diversity of expression of the divine. And when we realize that, and when we celebrate that, then we get a deeper experience of God. Which brings me, finally, to not only just making room for ourselves, and not only just making room for others, but making room for a wider, more colorful, more inclusive, more varied understanding of God, of the divine itself, right? I think that's why a lot of us are called to be in a center like this. Like, let's be real, this is not a traditional spiritual community. I love all the spiritual seekers. I love how eclectic centers for spiritual living communities are. I love that every single person I meet has a unique story about how they got here, I love how it's always like, oh, there was just something that didn't feel fully mine when it came to God, But when we arrive here, there's some spaciousness for that, so we can all have our own relationship, our own perception, our own growing and evolving evolution of the divine itself. I think a lot of us grew up like with a fixed concept of God, right? It's like a fixed state, often that someone else gave us. Perhaps some of us grew up in a setting where that specific picture of God was like sometimes loving, but also like super judgmental and punishing all the time. Right? And like really at any moment, depending on what you're doing, like fully ready just to doom you to eternal life in hell and fire and brimstone, right? Just kind of a judgmental dude. Does not feel safe. Or perhaps God was just like, didn't feel like relatable, like painted on the Sistine Chapel. I've seen the Sistine Chapel, it's amazing, but it's like this bearded white dude who's like also really ripped. Like in perfect shape. I guess because he's God. I don't know, but kind of unrelatable. Like I'm fully working on my dad bod right now, and just like I can't relate with that image of the divine at all right now in my life. I never could really. And then it can often, I also had experiences like just being really scared, being terrified of God, like just always being scared. And to me, I think with this spirit of making room for a wider expansiveness of God, it's calling us to evolve our understanding, right? And I recognize, I'm not totally poo-pooing that idea of God. I realize that at that time it was really comforting probably to have an authoritative kind of protecting idea, right? That may have worked for a lot of people. It still may work for a lot of people. So I want to be clear, I'm not totally poo-pooing that. It just didn't work for me, right? It didn't work for me. But I know for myself, what that required to me, if I didn't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, the baby Jesus out with the bathwater, if I really wanted to have a spiritual life, but not just have to do away with religion altogether, I had to call myself into making room for a wider understanding of God, right? Integrating a divine feminine aspect of God that is nurturing, that is loving, that is in continual creation, that will always be there, right? This understanding of a formless expression of the divine that feels like intuition and energy and synchronicity and something that can't really be seen or fully understood, but can be felt and known, right? Or just a personal expression, a personal, like my best friend, this idea of the divine that's just I got you, man. And I can come to you no matter what. And I think that we're being called into a time in which that kind of expansion of the divine is really coming forth through all of us, right? Exactly like that reading that Christine shared with us earlier. That I love the words of that, the God of our rapid tests and nose swabs. That lives in our bewilderment and grief, in our exhaustion and anger, in our laughter and joy, in our patience and kindness, in our rising up and renewal. Making room for these expressions of God, these wider understandings of God, is what I know I'm being called into, and I know we all are being called into. God in the ordinary and the extraordinary. God in our leaving and coming back. God in our fights and our frustrations, and God in our courageous conversations and reconciliations. It's all a miracle. This thing called life, all of it is a miracle. It's all worth putting on the altar. Every single piece is worth putting on the altar. It's that miraculous. It's that sacred. Because what I want you all to know, what I want us all to walk away with today, is there is not a single moment or space in time or place where you can be or emotion that you can experience where this divine energy cannot be found and eventually reveal itself and make itself known in you and through you and with you if you make room for it to do so. So, wherever you are at in your life, if you're full of happiness and excitement or full of anxiety and doubt, if you're full of hope and possibility, or if you're full of grief and sadness, which I imagine we all got a little bit of, by the way. When we feel full or maybe overly full, I invite us to remember that infinite and vast spaciousness within that can make room for it all, that can love it all, that can breathe into it all, that can make room and more room and more room and more room until we see the wholeness of life and come to find Emmanuel, God with us, never against us, always with us. So let's take all of this into some spiritual practice and prayer. I'm going to invite us, if it feels okay, to close your eyes or just gaze downward if that feels better for you, and to fully breathe and take a deep breath. But don't just breathe into your chest, breathe all the way down into your belly. And fully let go and do that once more. Fully breathing in and feeling the spaciousness, the vast, infinite spaciousness that exists within you that can hold it all. that not can only hold it all, but can allow this vast spaciousness to see it all and experience it all as something that is worth putting on the altar, that is sacred, that is divine, that is asking us to wake up in a new way, to discover a deeper aspect of who we are, to love ourselves more deeply, to create room for others, to be a person in this world that is a place of love and not fear, that doesn't seek to fight and destroy, but seeks to call in and bring to the table everyone and everything. So that all that is seeking to be known and to be healed within us is done so with this immense embrace of the divine itself, so that as we make room for the fullness of ourselves, as we make room for the fullness and diversity of others, as we make room for this evolution of the divine in our own lives, we are making room in ourselves for that divine spirit to work through us, in us, within us, so that we can truly be conduits of love in the world, which I know each one of us being here right now has been called into. So I say yes. I say yes, God. I say yes to being here in this moment, being called to love, and being that place of love in the world. And so there's nothing but gratitude and thanks that can come from this when we know that we are here on purpose and on time as conduits of the divine. And so we allow this spaciousness to bring forth all that is seeking to come forth with great love, with great peace, and with this place of presence within us. And so it's with this, I simply allow it to be, or let it be so. And so it is. Blessed be. Thank you.
Dude, seriously. Thank you. Thank you. I got to go to church, y'all. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Reverend Masando, beautiful talk. Thank you. Thank you. What a blessing. Oh, what a blessing it is to be in this community, and what a blessing it is to be able to give to this community. This is our opportunity to pay it forward for the time for conscious giving, and it is such a blessing to be able to do this, knowing that all that you give allows us to do this, to send this message of love and absolute unconditional love for ourselves and one another out into the world. And so those of you online, I thank you for that which you are giving. You can text to give. You can do that here, or the baskets are going to be passed around here in a moment. Whatever is the easiest for you, thank you so very much. So with that, if you are a monthly pledger, which I am, I like to envision and place my gift on my heart, or if you have it in your hand, I invite you to place it on your heart if that feels right. And together, let us bless our gift. From the love of pure spirit within me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and bless and prosper. It does good work in the world and returns to me multiplied abundantly. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. Thank you all. And now, here we go. Lori Jones.
I just need to say it is so good to be here this morning. More than I even knew, and thank you for that talk and for bringing the retreat back to us and just everything. Walk your life. Walk it proud. Sing your song. Sing it out. Hear the music deep inside. Play it in your soul. Just listen to the melody. It knows the way to go. what you think looks right. You gotta let your brave and faithful heart let it take you through the night. Oh, walk your life, walk it free. Heed the call, heed the call. Let it be. Let it be. Yeah, yeah. Just let it be. You gotta hear that whisper deep, deep inside. Just like a lover's voice. No matter what your life has been, oh, you get to make the choice, to make the choice to walk your life, yeah. Walk it down. Live your truth, live your truth, live it proud. Walk your life, yeah. Live your life. Oh, love your life. 'Cause it's your life. It's your life. Yeah. Your beautiful, beautiful, beautiful life. And it's our life. It's our life. Yeah, yeah. Oh, oh. So walk it free. Walk it proud. Walk it free. Yeah.
Oh, Lori Jones, thank you. I'm gonna go walk my life now. Thank you. I'm so inspired. Oh, just a couple of quick announcements for you all. So, first of all, I just want to let you know, those of us who are up here without our masks, we all tested negative this morning. I just want to be sure that you all know that. I meant to say that at the beginning of the service. I was still back at the retreat meditating. So, I want to let you know that my workshop begins tomorrow night. It's my workshop on angels, spirit guides, the quantum field, and new thought. I'm really excited to bring this to you. It's 3 Monday nights, May 2nd, 9th, and 16th. It's from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. We are having it here in person, and we are having it online as well. You can register online if that interests you. Also, we are having if you're local here, we're having our spring fundraiser for our teen camp, and we're selling herbs, heirloom tomatoes, and hanging baskets. Who doesn't love all three of those things? So please, you can go ahead and either order online for those of you watching online, or in person. There will be a table right outside with our teens staffing it after service. So please be sure to say hello to them, and the pickup will be May 14th and 15th. And next Sunday is Mother's Day. Guess what? My mom is going to be here from California. Hi, Mom. Oh, it's such a time to honor. Mother's Day is a time to honor. It's a time to heal. It's a beautiful experience. And one of the ways that we have Mother's Day here is we have our New Thought christening for our babies and for our young ones. So if you have a baby or a young one, a teen, that you want to have a christening for, a New Thought christening, please sign up outside. We're going to be doing that as part of our spiritual practice together. Also, remember, our fellowship hall is open downstairs. Please go downstairs after service and connect. It's so lovely. We have coffee and nosh and bookstore. We have new swag. Did you all see Reverend Masando? Come on up here for just one quick second. You got to look at our new T-shirts. Wait, they got to see the back.
Oh, yes.
The back is the best. Inclusive, progressive, compassionate. Yes, that is who we are. And those of you online, if you are interested, we're going to find a way to get a T-shirt to you too. All right, so what I'd like to do now is I want to honor those of you online watching from all over the place. Thank you so much for tuning in from California, Mexico, Washington, Nevada, Germany, Oregon, Arizona, and Texas. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes. And thank you to every single one of you in the room who chose here to be with us this day. This service would not be what it was this morning without you here. So thank you so very much. I would like to invite our practitioners right down here forward. You can come on now. We've got some from out of town. This is how we do. So come on down, and they're going to be available here for affirmative prayer, to pray with you after service. For those of you who are here in the room, give yourself this gift of these beloveds. When we are complete, when the sanctuary clears out, if you would like prayer for anything, they are here for you. You just step forward and they will pray with you. It's like 2 minutes, and they will affirm the truth for your being. For those of you online, we have 2 practitioners that will also pray with you, and the instructions are there in the chat box. Or you can go to our website and you could request prayer there. So, all right, yes? Oh, okay, now I'd like to bring Reverend Masando forward for our final blessing. Thank you again for that talk.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you again.
As always.
Thank you again for church.
So thank you all for being here in the room, and just want to give a shout out for those of you that are joining us online. We got folks from California, Mexico, Washington, Nevada, Germany, Oregon, Arizona, and Texas.
I love you so much. All right.
So, yes.
Final blessing.
Final blessing. So, please join me in our final blessing. May you go in the light, as the light, and with the light until we meet again. May the longtime sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide you on your way.
You are so loved. I love you.
I release, now let go.